Against him. These are live pictures from the courthouse where we are now waiting to learn if he will be released from jail. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Natasha Verma.
And I'm Bianca Peters in for Steve. Diddy found guilty on 2 of the 5 counts that he was facing. They are the lesser offenses, so his defense team has asked for his release.
Diddy's bail hearing is scheduled to begin at any moment now. The judge asking both sides to submit letters arguing for and against his release.
Now, if Diddy is released from jail, he would likely be subject to specific conditions while awaiting sentencing, as his legal team has proposed a $1 million bond and travel restrictions as well.
And this morning, Diddy was found not guilty of racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking, but he was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. So that means he could still face prison time, but may be released while awaiting sentencing.
Also, right now, we are waiting for the judge's decision on that. So let's get right over to Lisa Evers, who's been outside the courthouse all morning long into this evening. Lisa, what are you hearing?
Well, Bianca, Natasha, just think about this. That verdict came out early this morning, and Sean Diddy Combs has been in a holding pen the entire day waiting for this whole issue to be resolved. Instead of resolving that bail question right after the verdict was read, the prosecutors asked for several more hours in order to try and put their position together, which their position being they want to keep Sean Diddy Combs behind bars, even though he was cleared of the 2 most serious charges in this case. But let's bring in right now for criminal defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Sallin to get some understanding about this whole bail process that's going on right now. Jeremy, thank you so much for being with us. A little unusual for them to delay the bail hearing like this so many hours after the verdict?
There's nothing usual about this case. Everything about it's unusual, especially when you think about the magnitude of the charges that were brought against Sean Combs, and to be cut down, for lack of a better term, by the prosecution right at the knees, leaving him with a crime that does not mandate incarceration, though he's already been in for 10 months. And now it's a very fair question to ask. Bail Reform Act aside about keeping him in, why should he not get out when he's not facing mandatory incarceration?
But what at this point would you say the prosecution's or the prosecutors' main concerns are about if they let him out on bail?
I think there's an integrity check here. Do I really believe, or do they really believe, that he's a danger to the community at large, he's a danger to any particular people, that he's not going to return to court? That's a hard stretch, considering the man came down prior to being in charge. The man surrendered his passport. There's been no allegations since the accusations began that he's made any threats. And the bottom line is all of those things he's accused him of in terms of violence, guess what? He was acquitted, not a conviction.
Right, and I think that's the thing that's so hard for us to understand. So one of the bail denials, because there were several attempts to get him bail all the way through this process, the prosecution said, well, we're worried about him intimidating witnesses. But that would even be a point right now because he was cleared of the sex trafficking and the RICO charges, right?
Yeah, I think it's a heavy lift, even more so than the RICO charge itself, for the prosecution with a straight face to say, this man is a danger to society, this man is a danger to any particular women, this man is a risk of flight. Absolutely not. And the evidence doesn't bear it out in terms of what he's been convicted of, and nor does the history in terms of his compliance with returning to court or behaving and following the judge's instructions. I think they come up empty-handed, but again, there's something called the Bail Reform Act, which says in substance, barring exception, he should be held in.
And then in terms of the final decision, that should be the judge, right? That will make that decision based upon these letters that he's gotten that Natasha and Bianca were talking about from the prosecution and the defense.
Yeah, he's going to have to assess everything. He's going to be the arbiter of everything. The defense is saying, let's set $1 million. Combs will easily make that and be out. You can monitor him. We can regulate where he travels to in certain jurisdictions he can go. It can be done, and there's really no reason from a practical standpoint. And to be clear, he, yes, faces up to 10 years in prison, theoretically consecutive. That's never going to happen to 20 years. We're talking potentially months and nominal years if he's ultimately sentenced to that.
For that, on the transportation for prostitution for charges. But then in terms of the conditions and that they would have to satisfy, there were other things that he had offered in the past that were turned down by the government. An ankle monitor bracelet, having 24-hour security watching him. What about that? Do you think there'll be special circumstances or conditions that maybe a regular prison, I shouldn't say regular, but another detainee with a similar conviction would be not asked
I think a regular detainee with a similar conviction would not have to have an ankle bracelet with 24/7 monitoring by security. Hand in your passport. The defense counsel already has that. Stay in certain venues, drug tests. Don't leave New York or Florida where you reside. Post bond if you need to, in terms of the $1 million, if that's what's being asked by the defense. Those are reasonable things to ask. Is he going to return to court? Yes. If you have evidence that he makes a threat, you put him back in.
And then you've tried many big cases. What role does his family presence have? It's been very strong, very consistent, especially this last final week. His mother's been there every single day. He said his 85-year-old mother, in one of the defense application, he needs to be the main caretaker for his 85-year-old mother, Mrs. Janice Combs, who's been here every single day, and also be a father to his 3-year-old baby daughter. And then we've seen the other kids, the grown kids in there, and other extended family members. What effect does that have on a judge in this kind of decision?
So family ties are critical to show community ties. Family ties are critical to show you're not going to flee and you're going to return to court. However, let's not overstate. I think the defense has to be careful. Well, if he's a primary caretaker, who's been taking care of him for the past 10 months? If he's a primary caretaker for a young child, obviously someone else has been doing it. Let's not overstate, but let's also be very clear. They showed their support. They came for him. They're available for him. They're going to ensure his return.
They offered one of the bail packages previously that was denied by the judge and by the court was $50 million. Do you think this is going to be, we're going to be in the 7 figures to 8 figures?
Assuming that the judge agrees to release him, it's either going to be release him, or subject to certain conditions, or it's going to be much, much more nominal in terms of what that dollar amount is. There's no reason, if it was that high or higher, when you're talking about violent, ugly crimes, they don't exist. They're gone. Granted, I will say this, the prosecution at the time of sentencing can raise that evidence, even though he was acquitted, for the purposes of sentencing. So there is still that element, but bail needs to be reduced or he needs to be released.
All right, we'll stay tuned and find out. Jeremy Selden, thank you so much for being with us. And again, if you're just joining us right now, the bail hearing for Sean Diddy Combs happening inside this courthouse. He'll find out whether tonight he's going to go back to the Metropolitan Detention Center that has been named by numerous prison watch groups as one of the worst in the United States in terms of conditions, or whether he'll be in a much more comfortable setting for his first night out after this verdict was released. Anyway, that's the latest here from federal court. Natasha and Bianca, back to you in the studio.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much. Keep watching Fox 5 for continuing coverage of this breaking Diddy verdict. We're going to have more legal analysis coming up.
Okay, guys. Ooh. So they're just showing the courthouse now. Oh my God. Y'all heard it. Judge soon to decide if Diddy would be released on bail. Now, my personal opinion, I think if he's released on bail, it will cause other people to be in harm and danger. Because like they said, he don't know what the word no means. So you telling him not to tamper with witnesses. They ain't witnesses no more. But that don't mean he ain't gonna tamper with them. Anybody that came against him, he know who you are. He ain't gonna let you get away scot-free. He gonna make your life a living, you know what? A living hell. So y'all, that's what I'm saying. And then ain't nobody want to do business with him no more than the lewd people. Not the Astro Glide. They'll be happy to let him sign a contract with him so he can promote their Astro Glide. You know what I mean? Yeah. They'll be saying, oh, yeah, you can promote our Astro Glide. Here's $1 million contract. They ain't going to give him much because they know that nobody else going to, no, he ain't got no others, nothing. I couldn't agree with that. Right. That ain't nobody else signing him to nothing, no deals. He ain't got no promotional deals or nothing. So they know that. And the only people that probably will sign with him is companies that need to promote their brand that's not doing good. They underwater. They're about to lose their company. And then they'll say, Diddy, let's make a deal. Because either they make a deal with him and make a little money, or they don't make a deal and still go under, file for bankruptcy, lose the company altogether. So he's going to get the ones that's desperate. Money make people do strange things. Yep, it does. And some people, they have money and they don't do strange things. Oh, that's Mama Cone. What I said, Jones. Y'all, do y'all like the new wig she got on? I want to know that. Do y'all like Mama Cone's new wig? Y'all like Mama Combs' new wig. Now, while we are waiting on that, let me see. Let me undo this.
Hey, you know what? Tell me what it is that's going on right now, guys. Who's yelling at me? All right. Well, this is breaking news right now. Let's come back on camera for this, and let's bring in Lisa Evers here. We're learning right now, Lisa, that apparently bond has been denied.
Okay, that's
Well, I don't know if that's getting me. Let's use this one.
Let's get Jeremy.
Did y'all just hear that? You heard it here. Healing. Sweet tea. Tell y'all, did y'all listen again? But did y'all just hear that? Bond has been denied. What time is it? 5:19 p.m.
We hear it.
Yeah, Jeremy, can you come back in here when you get a moment? So what we had been positioned for was an argument that because the jury found Sean Diddy Combs guilty only on the lesser of the charges, that there was a presumption that he might be able to go home. The judge even asked him at one point, I imagine you don't want to go back to MDC. He nodded vigorously. Right? Let's use this microphone. I'm not sure if that one works. And Jeremy, if you'll come in here
Jeremy.
too. Should we start with Jeremy's reaction?
Jeremy Fallon is with us. He's a criminal defense.
Y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Where's your drinks? Make sure you get your drinks. Where's your drinks? I got mine. Get your drink ready. Y'all go get you something to drink. Tell your husband or you run and get you something to drink. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? Oh my Lord. Did y'all just hear that? It was 5:19 when he said that. Yes. Are you okay? I'm okay. I heard it. I'm not sure I didn't hear things. Y'all put in the chat whether you heard that or not, because I swear I don't want to be the only one who heard that, and then y'all got to calm me back down. Okay, here we go. Her mic is acting up. Y'all need to share one mic. Somebody get that woman's mic and fix it right quick so we won't miss nothing. They need to work on the mics. Whew.
Attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor. And the bail, the news is that bail has been denied.
Yeah, that the judge.
So there is the law, the statute says in substance that bail would be denied, meaning that he goes and stays in. There's not an exception. For example, there could be an exception where the prosecution says we consent, and there's other pieces to it as well. There could be a danger to somebody or not, but the bail being kept as it is not necessarily atypical because of the law, though one would believe the fact that he was not convicted of the top charge and it's been a reduction, and people do walk free and come back and RROR'd.
Well, keeping the bail as it is means there's no bail.
Right. So he's remanded, he's held without bail. So this doesn't change the potential sentence, obviously, because it's still up to 10 years, but for the immediate gratification purposes of getting out, doing what he needs to do and fighting this from the outside.
He said this does not change anything. He's still, because with the charges, with these charges, he has still got up to 10 years, but bail has been denied. Who is he? I said that he could be a threat to somebody. Let me bring that up. I put it in. I made a thumbnail about that. That Diddy Is he a threat to somebody? Yes, I did. I did it. Yes, I did. Let me bring it up. Because I was thinking, Diddy could be a threat to somebody. Where is that? Right here. This was a thumbnail I did. Here it is, right, not that. Let me see. Say what? Sweet tea. You just heard it. They just said bail has been denied. And I made a thumbnail about that right here. I said, what if Diddy is found not guilty? Are they threats to his fake friends or anybody else? Because he got a lot of fake friends, the ones that didn't show up for him. Y'all remember when I said that? I put this thumbnail up on one of my 3 channels. I put that thumbnail up. Yes, because he could be a threat to one of his fake friends. Yes, I did. I said he got all these fake friends. And he could be a threat to one of them. Let me bring up the other one right quick. Because I said, oh, y'all know I can't see without my glasses. Y'all know. So just give me a break and say, Pinky, sorry that you can't see without your doggone glasses. Where's that? Well, I can't find the other. But anyway, I think that he can be a threat to somebody. If he get out and is found not guilty, everybody that know him, everybody that was at them parties, everybody, even the people on social media may be in danger. Even the everybody may be in danger. I told them they better get out of town. Y'all better get on your, go ahead and pack your bags. If you are a big star, y'all better do like Ellen did. Ellen is already gone. Big homie, he's already gone. He lives in London now because he told his mama, whatever he told, that he was going to be safe. He ain't doing that no more. He ain't. They are trying to make an example out of him. They need to, because these celebrities, how am I doing this crazy ish? Taking these innocent poor people that barely can pay their own rent and don't have a job. We heard it first on Pinkie the Housewife. That's right.
In terms of preparing
Here until the verdict was read. Because right now we are on 6 hours and 17 minutes. I've been on 6 hours and 17 minutes. I'm not going nowhere until we hear this.
for that sentencing, now it's been stripped.
And let me just add, this morning, the prosecution was very adamant about wanting to have this extra time to present their argument to the judge, and seemed, obviously they were disappointed with the verdict. It was very visible and very obvious, but they wanted to keep him behind bars. And they said, Your Honor, we need several hours to really get this whole argument together for you. And that's pretty stunning.
But again, I think you have to go back to what the law is and what it allows for. And generally speaking, barring some exception, the Bail Reform Act says you're staying, you're not just getting released. He was convicted of a crime. I think people.
Sometimes it takes 3 months and sometimes it takes a little longer. Most times it's 3 months. And so he ain't going nowhere. And when he do get sentenced, then he going right there. Right. Let me show you what's going to happen to him. Let me show you. So when he do get sentenced, he's going to go. This is what's getting ready to happen. Y'all got to excuse me. Pinkie is already ready for everything. Everything. He getting ready to get. When he get sentenced, this is what's getting ready to happen to him. He getting ready to go behind this thing with these bars on it. See them bars? You can't climb over those. You got to be a strong man to climb over that. You got to be a strong person to climb over that. And I won't be trying it. I would just say, leave the bars there because I can't climb over that. Now, I see, I know I can't sing, but in this world, you don't have to be able to sing. All you have to be able to just pretend like you can sing. See the man with the handcuffs? I made this too. The jury has reached a verdict. I made this one last night in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. See those handcuffs? So what happens when he go back out of the big Metropolitan Detention Center, that big building, when he leaves this big building, this big, beautiful building, y'all know who always say big, beautiful this and big, beautiful that. When he leaves that big, beautiful building, let me find that big, beautiful building. I got to set the stage. When he leaves, what's that big, beautiful building? What's that big, beautiful building? I don't know, but I don't know. Don't y'all try to copy my song. Don't try to. So when he leaves the courthouse, handcuffed, they're gonna handcuff him like that, and then when they do, they're gonna they may take him straight on to prison, or they may take him over there until they can get him ready, so he can get all his little stuff and go straight on to prison life. Rapids Island. I don't know what the name of that place called. He going somewhere. See there? But tonight, will he go back over into this big, beautiful building? Big stone building? It ain't beautiful to me, but that's what the orange-haired man say, the big, beautiful building. And then he gonna get handcuffed, beautiful handcuffs like this behind his back. Then he gonna be behind something with metal bars, the rope chain, the chain like this, the chain link fits like that. But let's go ahead, guys. I tell y'all, didn't I tell y'all I was getting sleepy, but I went to get something to wake me up. I got some M&Ms. Y'all see what sugar does for me, don't you? Keeps me awake. It is raining down the valley, guys. I'm up high, so I can see down in the valley on top of the rooftops. You can't see them because the rain, the clouds are on top of the rooftops. It's on top, so, and it's coming down raining. It's pouring down raining. This window faces the valley. My house is up high, and then there's a mansion across the street from me. They're up higher than I am. He should go to Rikers Island. Ooh! Wasn't anything bad on nobody. I'm just trying to shake some of this sugar I got down here. I'm trying to shake it down. Like, shake it down. Shake it down. Shake it down. I'm just trying to shake some of this down. Shake it down. Shake it down. Y'all know I get you some rest, Pinky. We're getting ready to hear this. I tell y'all I need something sweet. When I get something sweet in me, some candy and stuff, I act a fool. Okay, here we go. Not gonna stop it.
People, rightfully so, are disappointed and have questions from the public's perspective when you have such a horrific allegation that is not proven or substantiated beyond a reasonable doubt. And summarily, we're not talking about on the cusp. That's a pretty quick verdict that I think fooled many people, thinking that there might have been a sex trafficking conviction. He's walking scot-free in terms of any allegation of coercion, force, fraud, violence. but he's still in custody.
Okay, so Jeremy, what about?
Can we just ask Jeremy? Was it a difficult decision for the judge legally?
I think the judge is I think the judge is not finding any exception and following the law, and that's why he's staying there. The hope from the prosecution, though they didn't, the defense, though they didn't raise it specifically in their letter to the court, was that yes, there may be the Bail Reform Act, and that was what the prosecution relied on, since statutorily you can't just let him walk. The prosecution was hoping, the defense was hoping that the judge would look past that and say, he's returned, he just shows that he can follow a court order, he's not going to flee, and he's not a danger to anyone specifically or the community at large.
And then let me ask you this, in terms of the appealing this decision, what's the process now that the defense will have to go through in order to appeal the judge's decision of no bail?
I would expect that he's not going anywhere anytime soon, appeal or not. I think that they're going to follow the judge. I haven't heard what the judge said, so it's hard for me to just speak on an island here. But based on the law as we know it, I think the judge has ample ground to stand on and make this decision.
Let me answer that. Our Sharon Crowley has been watching this and telling us right now the judge says that the government was correct that the detention is mandatory for a Mann Act conviction, what you're indicating, and the judge said that the limited exception to mandatory detention was not met. Sean Combs pointed to his duties as a father and a son, which we talked about, but that does not rise to the level of an appropriate exception, according to the judge.
Right, and to my point moments ago, that's what the law is. But we like to think that from the outside looking in, when someone has been charged with such egregious and horrible acts and a jury of your peers says no so quickly, there should be a means to say you should be free, but there still is a conviction. The Mann Act qualifies. He's in custody. Whether that's a sign of the judge saying I'm going to harshly sentence him or not, we can't say, but let's not read into it. The judge is simply following the law, and this warrant does not warrant that 10 years that you're hearing about for each of the counts for Jane and
then Jeremy, remind us again about the Mann Act.
So the Mann Act does not involve coercion or force or anything like that. The Mann Act simply says that if you're bringing someone across state lines in substance, engaging in prostitution, that violates the law. I look at this case, not to really go too far off, this really, especially when you hear this verdict, should likely never have been in that courthouse. If anything, it should have been in that courthouse, meaning 100 Center Street or something similar, in a state courthouse for domestic violence, for abuse, for things that physical abuse and assaultive behavior, those types of things. But now we're here. It is what it is. But I think the prosecution really got humbled whether or not the judge is keeping Sean Combs in.
No, 100%. So now tonight he'll be spending the night in MDC.
It's hotter in there than it is out here, certainly for him. But there is now a horizon. That sun is rising for him. There is an out, and I'd like to think, based on the evidence and based on the finding of that jury, that out will be reasonable. And the defense said maybe 20 to 24 months. The prosecution is saying at least 50 to 60 months, even more. Where the judge falls, I don't know. But there's freedom for a guy who's looking at life in prison, which is unbelievable, whether he's in jail tonight or not.
And you told us that there's no minimum with the conviction, the prostitution conviction.
Correct, but there are guidelines, and the judges generally follow those guidelines. There's ability to move along them and go up or down. But I think we have to look at what the evidence is and remember that the prosecution can still bring out in sentencing, though you could not do that at a state court, all of these other allegations and the evidence there that was not supported by the jurors who said not guilty, because it's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt in sentencing. It's not the same standard.
Right.
But do I think he's going to get 10 years? We've been wrong before. No, I do not. There is an out for him.
All right. And we'll continue watching this closely. And so that's it.
That's it for now.
Yeah, just to sum up, this has been a day of news on the Sean Diddy Combs case. First, the jury came back and rendered a not guilty verdict on the heavier charges of the indictment. And then there was this talk about whether or not he would be walking out of here. There were a lot of reasons why some people thought that might actually be the case. But at this point, we've just learned that the judge has denied the application for bail, which means instead of walking out a free man today, Sean Combs will have to wait. And the judge noted, we're told right now by Sharon Crowley, that one of the incidents of violence against a former girlfriend was in June of 2024, after Sean Combs knew that he perhaps was illegal. Right. So there are things in the bag, so to speak, that the judge is taking into consideration, that as people out on the street, maybe we were slower to get to, but the judge has made his decision. Sean Combs will not be seen on camera outside the courthouse today, at least not as a somewhat free man on bail. That's the latest from here at the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. We go back to you guys.
I was going to say, Arthur, before you go, maybe one more last question. We do know that by law that detention is mandatory under the counts he was convicted on. But maybe you could explain some other reasons or the top reason why the judge refused bail.
Well, it was actually, as Jeremy Salanso kindly shared just now, that bail typically isn't decided after the jury's decision, the jury's verdict. A bail is decided before the trial goes into play, right? And then they decide whether or not to hold a defendant in that case. That had already happened in this case. The decision was made to hold Sean Combs behind bars during the length of these court proceedings, and they're not over yet, right? That we have to get through sentencing for this to actually truly be over. So what Jeremy was explaining was it would have required an exception to the decision that he already made, and he said based on multiple factors that it doesn't rise to the level of granting an exception at this time. I don't know if I put that in English.
Arthur, thank you very much. Lisa as well, and Jeremy. We've got more breaking news coverage after this break.